Hello, friends, and happy Friday. Hello, Greg. Welcome back to the show. How you been?
I am doing good. It's good to see you, Winnie, and to be here with everybody, of course, tuning in live. I got to say, so I'm here in Portland, Oregon, for everybody who doesn't know. Normally, it should be raining right now, but it's supposed to be like 80 degrees today. So I'm pretty excited about today. You get to go outside. I get to see some sun. It's going to be awesome. So, and this is a great way to start it off. It's right here.
I love it. So October is like usually wet in Portland.
I mean, sometimes we get a couple of days where it's a little bit nice in October. It's kind of a fake end of summer that happens, but 80 degrees is really weird and rare. So I'm just gonna take it. I'm excited about it. I'm happy for it.
I love it. And it's sort of like perspective, Greg, because like we're having 80 some degrees this weekend, and like everyone around me is like, it's gonna be so hot this weekend.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
why can't it be back to 75 degrees again?
Yeah, that's normally though, see, it'd be like 60 degrees here. So it's a little bit different, but yeah. That's funny.
I love it. I love it. How awesome. Well, congratulations on that, Greg. I think that would be wonderful. For those of you new to the show, welcome to In the Loop with Winnie and Greg. And those of you returning, thank you so much for being back here. We so appreciate you spending your beautiful Friday here live with us. I'm Winnie Sun, longtime financial pro, CNBC council member, and Forbes contributor and host of Level Up, which also can be found on NASDAQ. And Greg, you got to give us an intro because it's so good to have this show back again. In
Yes.
We've been off what 2 weeks because we've been so busy.
2 weeks. Yep. But back now. And yeah, thanks. Like Winnie said, for everybody who's joining back in, who normally watches us. For anybody who's new, I'm Greg Nibbler, longtime tech reporter covering all kinds of things in the world of technology, which is what I kind of focus on here on this show. But also I've worked for the NBA. I am a reporter and producer for Fox 12 Oregon for KPTV. So I have a show on there called Fox 12 Now, where I cover everything. Everything possible that you could think of that's in the news, I cover that. But here we get to have a lot of fun because I get to talk about technology. And since we're interactive, we get to have the feedback of everybody. So you can drop in your comments. You can let us know what you think about when we're talking about things. I've got some updates on a big tech event that happened this week. And then I've got the stuff that I really like to talk about, which let's just say it's maybe some robots are involved. I'll just say that. That's coming up too. So that's all part of the tech segment though later on here, where I get to share some of the things that I've found online.
Greg, I've missed talking to you. I'm so glad you're back. We're going to have so much fun today. I can't wait to hear what you have to share. I'm going to kick it off though and update you on money, Greg, because I think you're going to like today. You ready?
Yes.
Okay, so the Dow is currently up 320 points. NASDAQ's currently up almost 200 points at 195. S&P 500 is up 49 points today, Greg. I feel like they're celebrating us coming back on the show because like the market really likes that we're doing In the Loop right now. We'll check back again before the end of the show and see how the market is doing when we close. But yeah, so the news that I want to talk about, some big headlining in the financial news has been pretty active this week. And so I wanted to try to bring a couple stories that I know our In the Loop audience loves to talk about and hear about. And of course, we got to talk about Elon Musk. So there's been some developments on the side of Twitter, which has now become X. Love it, hate it. It is what it is, right? We have no power in that realm. But one thing that we've been seeing a lot of, and you may have experienced this yourselves, is that when you go to Twitter, a lot of us go to like, I know Greg and I go to Twitter for news, right? Like breaking news, what's going on, to figure out what's happening. In fact, I know like right now, one of the big things is there's lots of things happening in Washington, D.C. I know there's been a new booster that's available too. And a lot of that like press, like stuff that just happens right then and there, I like to get from Twitter, now X. Well, Elon seems to be ruining that party for a lot of us because And for some people, now not everybody, and on some posts, not everybody, you actually won't even see your news headline from links on the platform here. So
Yep.
Elon is saying this is an aesthetic enhancement that the headlines don't look good. But like if now when you're posting links, it's interesting because I tested this yesterday on two of my social handles on Twitter, and I noticed that at first, when I tweet or post this out, literally I see nothing but a link. But then later, if I go incognito or something else or a different account to look at the post, then it's all of a sudden showing up again. But yeah, so Greg, how do you feel about this development?
I mean, it is not more aesthetically pleasing, that's for sure. So that part's wrong on his end. But I mean, it's just one more thing where he's tinkering with something that does work for so many people. This is my opinion on this. And it's all just to try to, I feel like instead of make something better and to where people are like, oh, okay, maybe I want to pay for this really cool feature, it's stripping things away and making it, making it work poorly or look poorly just to try to get people to pay, I guess, to go for the subscription or something like that. I'm not really sure where he's going with this, other than it doesn't seem like a good decision.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. I
You
mean,
know,
so we've seen this on some of the publications that are on X, which is used to be Twitter now.
yeah,
And they've been actually manually posting headlines. They even put in the comment section, yeah, you probably won't see our headline, but this is what it's about. And then people have been making fun of it, like making up fake headlines for the articles because they don't think they're an article. But so you're absolutely right, Greg. Elon's plan is encourage news organizations to share content in long form directly on their platform, on this platform. So like you said, I'm pretty sure that if you're going to be posting long form, you're going to probably have to pay.
yeah,
So this is probably another way of monetization, get basically squeezing every last drop of revenue you can from this. But I mean, I think I was reading an article or some post. I think Reuters had, I think it might have been Reuters, and if it's not, I apologize. But had said that the valuation for the company, which was purchased for over $40 billion, is now valued at close to about eight. So
yeah.
desperate times calls for desperate measures, and another reason why I like I tend to recommend not doing business with people that are in financial desperation because it can get kind of dangerous pretty quickly. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's crazy going from 40 billion to 8 billion. And I mean, yeah, it's unfortunate because I really do like you mentioned, I like going there for news and for headlines, and not that I'm going to do my in-depth research on Twitter, but quick headlines and important things. It's a really, really good source for that. And even that seems like, he's screwing that up too. I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
Okay. I know, like that's one of the beautiful things about the platform because the news
Yeah.
comes so quickly. Like when we heard about the fires in Maui, you would go on X or Twitter and see all the developments, right? You could see that
Yeah.
quickly. So like so what's interesting about this, I wonder if you're not paying that subscription, maybe then you don't get headlines. And if you do pay, you do get headlines, which is really, really weird.
And
But
and isn't that the opposite of what he kind of said that it was supposed to be? It's because he was saying that this was going to be the free speech platform for everybody in the world where everybody can share their ideas, but only if you pay and only if you don't say bad things about Elon and only if you do. So it's completely the opposite of what it seems like he's saying.
yeah, and you're right, Greg. I feel like everything you said has translated into what we're seeing now, which is they're reporting like a 3.7% decline in daily active users on Twitter. That so falling about 245 million since Elon's acquisition. So this is a significant drop in revenue, U.S. ad revenue, and I'm sure, like I know he's taking a lot of heat in the EU as well. But it's interesting because that this is something I know you talked about in a previous story about, Elon is really critical about like free speech, right? And saying that these news outlets are like propaganda machines and whatnot. So I don't know. Well, I guess okay, Fidelity estimating the value of currently being at 15 billion, so not quite down to 8 billion. So I guess there's that. But anyhow,
Yeah.
on to the next story, which is also on Elon Musk. No surprise here. The SEC is now also talking to Elon. This is not new. I feel like the SEC and Elon have beef all the time. But the SEC has filed a lawsuit now against Elon Musk, seeking to compel him to testify regarding dun, 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 his purchase of Twitter last year. So supposedly, Elon has failed to appear for testimony, which was scheduled for September 15th, despite the fact that he was actually subpoenaed in May of 2023. Now, this investigation is about focusing on sort of the potential securities fraud related to the purchase of Twitter shares while Elon was in the process of acquiring stock in the company, which ultimately closed the deal of around $44 billion. So the SEC is saying that, well, Elon, just refuses to comply with the subpoena, and is really trying to like obstruct this case from going through, delaying their investigation, and other potential violations of federal securities law. Let me just say, I think this is one area like you don't want to not comply on, Elon. I feel like the SEC, the government, that may be a place where you just kind of want to follow suit. But yeah, so the SEC is clarifying that this investigation is still ongoing. They have no conclusions yet, and they're not even saying any violations have taken place. But the new hearing is now scheduled for November 9th of 2023, next month. So we'll see if that takes place. All right, we're gonna move on because we gotta keep on talking about Elon, right? Then, with that, Greg, I guess you and I can see if he actually shows up. But this next story, I thought Greg's gonna really enjoy this one. Okay, we've talked about Taylor Swift inflation. We talked about Beyonce inflation and that output. But have you heard of Girl Scout cookie inflation?
No, I have not heard about that, although I do know it's Girl Scout cookie season.
It is. It is Girl Scout cookie season. But get this, okay? So this is what's so powerful about like this is incredible. So inflation is hitting. So the Girl Scout cookies set prices to be increasing in 2024. But get this, most of these cookies price between $5 to $7 per box, which we know goes to a great cause for kids to be in Girl Scout Council. Certainly something I actually sold cookies when I was a kid, when I was a brownie back in the day. This is like before you're full blown Girl Scout, you're a brownie, like a younger Girl Scout. But basically, they definitely were impacted during the pandemic, the early years of pandemic, because we're still in pandemic, but now they think things have gotten a lot better, and they're really going out there trying to like make more money. There's a significant portion of the Girl Scouts budget. But get this, they have a new special cookie. I guess it's some raspberry flavor cookie that you could only get on their online system. And so they did it for a limited time, so you couldn't get it that quickly. It's been selling on eBay for over $200 a box for these cookies. And so to give you an idea how big the Girl Scout cookie phenomenon is, they sell about 200 million boxes of cookies. Okay. And this has generated about $800 million a year. A year.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That
So
200 million boxes. I mean, I can tell you right now that at least 2 boxes will end up being purchased by me. That usually happens. It's like either a friend's kid or somebody gets me at the grocery store. That's usually what it is. And I'm a sucker, so I'll end up buying some. But 200 million boxes. And also I would not pay $200 for a box of Girl Scout cookies. I don't care how good they are.
I know, so it's pretty good, Greg.
Yeah, that's got to be some pretty amazing cookies for
Yeah.
$200. But that's pretty crazy. That's just online though. So that's a raspberry
online,
cookie
so it's
just
not really
online.
benefiting. Yeah, so that specific cookie box you can only get through their online system. But of course, the inflation on eBay and whatnot really doesn't benefit the Girl Scout Sally unless like the seller is kind enough to go ahead and give them money. Or maybe maybe that's something you need to do. Maybe like as a Girl Scout, maybe you just gotta buy a few boxes and sell them on eBay if you know they're gonna be discontinuing them because there'll be a following for your cookies. But Yeah, I mean, Greg, you're one of like those popular families in the neighborhood where like you know that they're really really nice and you can sell cookies to them. So like, I feel like after the show, Greg, you're gonna get a lot of messages.
I probably will be. I'm sure. I can think of two friends right now with girls that are in the Girl Scouts that I guarantee I'm going to get hit up on for.
Yeah, we end up buying, like, I'll be honest, we probably buy a dozen or more cookie boxes every year just because like with three kids,
Yeah,
friends of all different ages, you can't say no like to, and then I don't want to just buy one box, I buy more, and then so I try to give them out to my team when we're working in the office. I give, like, they're good stuff. It's good though, it's not like they're bad.
they are good. I know, but I do not need a dozen cookie boxes for myself sitting here. That would be bad. So yeah, giving them out, that's a good idea.
They make very good gifts. Yeah. So let me ask you, for though I see a lot of friends joining us right now live. Do jump in. Let us know what your favorite flavor of Girl Scout cookie is, because yeah, I would like to know, because I don't know about you, Greg. I love that one. It's got like coconut and chocolate on it. It's got like, I feel like that one. I can't remember what it's called. Curtis
The
probably knows.
Samoas.
That okay, yeah, that one. Which
I
one
think that's.
is your favorite?
I like the one. It's the it's chocolate covered, but it's got like the peanut butter filling in it with the cookie. I can't remember the name of it.
That one's really good.
I will have to look it up. But yeah, that's the one. Every time I will get that one.
I love it. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna take
Yep.
us to the next story then, Greg.
Okay.
Okay, speaking of food, how about we talk about French fries? I want to
All right.
talk about the economic demand on French fries. Okay, so this was a really fun story that came out recently, and they're saying that like sort of like in the middle of the beginning of the pandemic, they're talking about how everything was valued based on boxes and shipping containers and whatnot. But now they're saying that one positive sign for the economy is a demand for French fries. So I see Michelle joining us on LinkedIn Live. Michelle loves the chocolate peanut butter. I know, Tangelos. That's right, Michelle. It was Tangelos. Okay,
That
I
it.
love it.
That it. Okay.
She would know. Michelle's awesome. She would know. Okay. I love it. Yes, absolutely. That's one. But here's the thing, Michelle, let me know what you think about this. I will say that at my household, we like French fries, but we try to limit our consumption of French fries. But they're saying the demand for French fries at fast food restaurants is remaining steady, which suggests that consumers are willing to spend despite inflation concerns. In fact, this was a study um, that they study, I guess, Lamb Weston's observation. They are a frozen potato supplier. They're reporting that French fry attachment rate has stayed above the pre-pandemic levels, indicating the resilience of, I guess, French fry lovers across the world, specifically mostly in the United States. But they've noticed that when inflation is really bad, typically consumers will cut down on spending. But even though they cut down on spending, French fries still gets their love. This is still that impulse buy that they're willing to make when they go drive through to their favorite fast food restaurants. So this is one of their valuations they're saying that we need to study, which is, do French fries decrease or increase depending on where inflation levels are? Yeah.
Huh. I mean, I can see that. I mean, everybody likes French fries. So, well, not everybody, I suppose, but that's really interesting using it though as an economic indicator.
Yeah, I don't
French
know that.
fries.
I'm gonna say that I feel like this is more hype than anything else. I think there's a lot of things we can gauge French fries. I feel like even if inflation is really high and you feel like you can't afford that steak at the supermarket, right? And so you're living off like less expensive protein choices, like less expensive groceries. I feel like your guilty pleasure will then be fast food restaurant French fries because the cost isn't that high, right? You're giving up a vacation or a new car or a new pair of jeans, but you'll get your French fries. So I feel like that's skewed and like not quite correct, but I like that they're trying to get this into financial news because we're actually talking about it today. And so we're helping them get the information out, Greg. We're keeping
Yeah,
them in the loop.
exactly. Exactly. Right back to the title. So you're not going to be giving out financial advice based on French fry sales, is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
not anytime soon. I don't think Michelle's like agreeing. Michelle's smiling, so I think she agrees with me. She's on LinkedIn today. It's great to see you. All right, Greg. So what do you have for us this week?
All right. So I've got a few things here that we're going to cover, just some tech news. I do have to go to one of the big events of this week because we are in new phone season, as I like to call it. So at least partially. Samsung's is a little bit later next year, but we already had the Apple event. So that was the big one. This isn't as big as Apple, but Google had their event. So made by Google for the new Google Pixel phones. And so we have uh, their new phones. So they got the Pixel 8, the Pixel 8 Plus, and so you can see both of them right there. That they've been showing these off really for a while. So it's not like it's been a big secret of what they're going to look like. Google, unlike Apple, where everything's just locked down a tight secret, Google and Samsung sometimes, but Google especially will just leak it themselves. So be like, yep, here it is. Don't bother trying to spoil it. You can see it. But we did get to have the event. So we learned a little bit more about the phones. And this is, like I said, the 8th version of these. So continuing on with this, and each one has gotten better and better. But one of the big things that Google always talks about of how good they are or what they're best at is using AI and their onboard processing, particularly for their photos. So that's the thing that really they're focused on here with this. And that's kind of what the feature that I was going to look at, because I don't think anything here is going to be enough. If you are a huge iPhone fan, I don't think this is going to be enough to make you switch over to the Pixel yet. But there are some pretty cool things that they had here with the Pixel. And so I kind of wanted to go through a few of those, just some of the features that they were talking about. So one of them with the camera features, they have a whole thing called shot on the iPhone, fixed on the Pixel. So they showcased how some iPhone photos and how they were able to take those and they were a little bit blurry and then take those photos, upload them into Google and then run it through that. And then they were able to fix the photo. I don't know if I'm going to go that far that that the iPhone photo is that bad that you need to run it through on a Pixel, but there's an example right there. So somebody took just a really blurry photo with an iPhone. It was like, look, Pixel fixed it. But I do like the de-blurring feature because that is something, especially if you're, doing something really active, people are moving around a lot. This can fix that. So that part is a cool feature. They also have the magic eraser, which this is, again, a feature that we've seen in other things before, but looking at how they can take, I'm looking at my screen too right now as I'm looking at this, but, changing up the background, getting rid of things there, get rid of the lifeguard, move it. This to me is a little bit like cheating. I mean, that's a cool picture, but if you want something realistic, that's that's your photoshopping in something there. But cool, quick thing that you can do there with your phone, being able to take that. Another one there, and I think it's just up from this, is the group picture one. So this is one where, say you're taking a whole bunch of pictures, and you were just talking about, 3 kids and the family, the chances of everybody looking right at the camera and not doing something or blinking is probably pretty slim. So the idea behind this is you take a few pictures and then it will end up taking the best of them, and through basically photoshopping and manipulating it, it fixes it all. So they'll take the forward looking face from one photo, put it on the other photo, and then match it all up for you and make it look like that was one single photo that you took. I don't know. Winnie, how do you feel about that feature?
It's just creepy. No, I mean
yeah.
It's a little creepy. Kind of like the picture with the boys. Like, I mean, I'll say this. I feel like with camera, we want really great clarity and we want it to be easy to use. But I feel like, that's changing the background. I mean, I feel like Apple has that. And so that's great that you can put different heads on different people. I'm not sure that is something that we need. It would move us from one device to another, but it's certainly something cool. I mean, I think it's kind of interesting and fun, especially for people who aren't naturally, good at Photoshop, such as myself. Like,
Right.
I can see using that maybe once or twice. I don't think it's something for me to, number one, upgrade my phone, and number two, switch phones. But it's nice to see this technology coming in the forefront because, just think about like, so to be able to do that so quickly in the past, we would have to learn how to use a really complicated program like Photoshop. So that's cool. I mean, yeah, it's good. It's fun. I like the whole video of the like on the green screen with the two phones talking. That's kind of cute, kind of retro. You
Yeah,
know, maybe I feel like that's the audience. So, because, like I've met some Android users recently. Not you, Greg, because I know you're like a super duper phone user. But like, I feel like I've met some people who are more like I don't think even know how to use the full capacity of an Android phone, right?
for sure.
And I do think when I talk to them, it seems like a lot of it centers around price and just a familiarity and being used to the product. So
Yep. Yep. That is, I mean, that familiarity, just because if you're in using one kind of device and you're used to that and you don't want to have to learn something else, I mean, once you're in that lane, it's going to be something that's pretty hard to get somebody to get out of that, which is why
Mhm.
also, why iPhone partially is so successful, because people get used to the iPhone.
Simple.
I mean, it's switching to an Android, it's a different operating system. Nobody wants to figure that out. And that happens the same thing with Android people as well. But
Yeah.
even within Android, you've got all the different phones. So it's Pixel's kind of fighting an uphill battle in that aspect, of getting people to switch over, say, from a Samsung or, I mean, an iPhone. That's an even greater leap. But I do like what they're doing. And since it's Google, they can keep on putting money into it every year and getting it better and better until, some of it really is on par with iPhone and Samsung. Some of their
I
photo
bet.
capabilities absolutely
Yeah.
are. But
But I think that's where you gotta fight. Like the camera is where, like right now, I don't feel like I feel like cameras. Like you might say this one's a little bit better, but I feel like they're all good now.
yeah,
So
that's the
like that,
thing.
yeah, the camera war is gonna be the camera war. Like, but what can one of these companies brings us something that we're gonna just be like, wow. Recently I saw somebody sitting actually just 2 days ago, sitting next to me, and he had the phone where he could flip out, right? It's like the full screen.
Mhm.
But that looked a little wonky too. So I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you're right, because the camera capabilities, like the hardware, they're all pretty much on par. I mean, if you're shooting, a film on your phone, iPhone seems to have some pretty good capabilities there, but that's if you're a filmmaker. If you're in that specific audience, then okay, maybe that's something that you want, and you want real high end stuff. But I mean, the rest, otherwise, they're all just really good. They're all good. I think the way they're going to start differentiating a lot of it is going to be on some of this onboard capabilities of the AI, using AI, their processing power, what they can do with that, and how they can wow people. And yeah, changing out the heads or changing the background, I don't think that's going to be enough to, most likely, for most people to want to switch over to another phone. Cool feature if you have it, neat. But yeah, I think you're right. We need that wow factor, something that you would use in your everyday life. And I don't know if we've seen that in a
We
little
haven't,
while.
yeah, that I think you hit it exactly right, Greg. I feel like we haven't seen that yet. And I see Cross-X Fighter on YouTube, and I know that he feels that way as well. I feel like when there used to be the flip phone, and then there was that Palm Pilot thing. Like I don't feel like the phones now are evolving. And I think that is Apple's issue right now. I do think that there was definitely some disappointment that not a lot of people upgraded their phone this year. And you got to
Yeah,
pause for a second and saying, okay, you got to go back to the drawing board now because users are getting used to your product and they expect something more wow. And maybe the products have been getting a little too safe and they've been focusing too much on the camera. And you made a really great point, Greg, about like, specific market. You're talking about a specific market that will use some of these features. But then, like, I think about my creative team, right? That specific market, you can say, oh, they might be using this technology, but then they would be like, I got to take out my big camera because even my phone can't compete with my big camera.
right.
So then, like, who's using the technology?
Yeah,
Definitely not like a lot of the Apple market is from kids all the way to grandma and grandpa. And like, you know, how many people are
right.
using it? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean those specific features. Yeah, and that's a good point too. Yeah, because your team, they already have all that equipment, and they have really good equipment. So why go to that part for the iPhone? Yeah, I
Michelle's
think.
making a great point too. I gotta share this with you, Greg. Michelle is joining us on LinkedIn Live, and she's saying that Apple's parental controls are horrible.
Uh,
You know, that is a great point, Michelle. In fact, I will say I'll add to this. YouTube's parental controls are actually horrible as well. So a lot of these tech companies need to rethink like parental controls for sure.
yeah, yeah, that's, I mean, definitely something that could actually, that they could differentiate themselves with too if they had some better controls then on that end. But yeah, it's I love seeing what Google comes out with. I love seeing the Pixels. It hasn't been enough for me to switch over. I briefly thought about it this last round of getting a new phone, but I stuck with the
Not yet.
Galaxy range. But it's I like having another competitor in there, somebody else to push things along, even if it's just iterative steps and little steps here and there. It is a great phone. I mean, don't get me wrong. Really, when you just line all three of them up, they're all good phones. But we'll see where it goes from there. Let's do this. Let's go on to my next topic though from Google. This one, now we get into the weirder stuff. So this was an announcement from a company in Japan who has created a giant robot suit that you can buy. So this is basically like, if you know what a mech suit is, this would be something that you can get into and you can actually control. This is a 15-foot tall robot machine suit, however you would want to call it, because it can be controlled a couple of ways. You can remote control it and just control it from somewhere else, or you can actually hop in this thing and control it that way. So it's got the wide base on there. This is something that's probably not needed for anyone. It's 3.5 tons. It's called the Archax, I believe is how you would pronounce that. 14.8 feet tall, 3.5 tons. It's that 3D printed filament. It can go 6.2 miles per hour. And, and you can drive this thing around. It's got its giant robot hands. Like I said, what are you going to use it for? You could probably come up with some excuses to say like, oh, I'm going to move things around with it. Really, I think it just comes down to you want a giant robot that you can control. And it's going to cost you millions of dollars to have one. But these things are going to be going on sale. This company, the owner is saying that this is something that they're going to be having out there. $2.7 million is how much this will cost.
Oh my goodness.
If you want to have your own private robot. I mean, even a lot of the articles.
This thing I feel like is going to have a market, Greg. Yeah. I got to jump in this because
nice.
I actually see this as being, I think, well, first of all, I think $2.7 million is certainly too rich for my blood and probably yours, Greg, too. And, maybe even some of you watching, but I can absolutely seeing someone buy this who has the means to do this. This talk about like a movie prop or something you would use in movies, or imagine like, like some people have really fancy parties. Imagine, getting your kid to rent one for the day to drive them to high school for their birthday.
This showed up in the robot.
Yeah, right. Or you're doing a launch on a brand new such and such show, and then this is gonna be like greeting guests when they walk in the convention center. I feel like this is definitely something that people would buy, and I imagine, Curtis is saying, Curtis is saying maybe price reasonable.
Too
I don't
low.
know. I'm kidding. But but this is something I feel like if you had the means to buy one and hold on to it and keep it in mint condition, this could be interesting.
I mean, it's pretty cool. Like the display in there, they showcase what that is. You got like this heads-up display of all these different things that are going on, and I mean, it looks like it'd be a lot of fun. I have actually been in a mech suit before. There was one that I was in this was several years ago at CES. They had one there because there was going to be a mech fighting league and a mech racing league that was going on. I don't know if that ever actually came to fruition. That was several years ago. This one looks like a more advanced version of that, of the type of machine that I saw before. But I mean, it does. It looks like fun. I would 100% get in one of those. And like,
I guess
fool
I
around
see
in that.
Universal Studios pick. I mean, it looks like a transformer. Let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
And who doesn't want like their own Optimus Prime? Like someone out there. I mean, maybe it's Curtis because Curtis says should be priced at $3.7 million. I'm kidding. But imagine like just imagine like having one of these things. Like it's bananas. I feel like the Kardashians are gonna get one of these, or Yee, who used to be Kanye West, would have one of these.
I could definitely see Kanye West having one of those. He's got all kinds of weird machines on his ranch out there in Wyoming. I've seen some pictures of like the strangest, most expensive vehicles you can think of. He's got those. He's got those things out there.
Like, is Kanye West like the new Michael Jackson? I think like Michael Jackson would have had one of these things back in the day.
Yeah, I could definitely see that being the case. I mean, for those guys, 2.7 million doesn't really. That's easy. So yeah, I would bet Kanye will.
70 cents. No big deal. Just add a few more zeros.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we've got. I've got that one. I realized too that this is the thing with the loop. We have so much fun. I forget what time it is. I do have one more quick topic just to throw in there. One extra thing, another flying car. So I know we talk about flying cars a lot. I do because I bring up flying cars a lot here on the show. There is another one. This is from a company called Pivotal. So they used to be named. I've talked about them before when they were their previous name. So they used to be called Opener, but this is Helix. So this is their new flying vehicle that you can pick up. This is definitely a lot cheaper than the robot. It's at $190,000 is what you can get this with a $47,500 deposit. They're saying that their deliveries will start in June of next year, that you could pick this up. You could have your own flying vehicle. They call it a flying car. It doesn't really look much like a flying car. I'm going to be honest. This is, it's more like a personal drone. It's an eVTOL, electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicle. But it is one more that's out there. And the reason I really wanted to show this is just because we're seeing more and more and more of these companies actually coming out with products for flying vehicles. It's not happening as quick as I think a lot of people thought it would, but I do think within a couple of years, this will be something that's a lot more common. You're going to start seeing these kinds of things out there, at least for recreational type of vehicles, where you may be going along, and see somebody flying one of these. That day is coming. I don't think it's going to be where we all have one parked in our driveway for quite a while, but these are going to become more commonplace. Things like this, and this is just one more company that's out there with it.
I don't know. It already looks old. I mean, especially after you showed us that really like transformer looking robot. I feel like they need to rework this design because it looks retro already. I don't know if it's the colors or the shape, or I feel like, Cross-X Fighter said it looks like a small plane. I'm hoping you're right, Greg, and we'll have these sooner or later, but it just seems like they're creating them, but we have nowhere to fly them. So
yeah. Well, if you have a bunch of land out in the middle of nowhere, then that's where these are going to be flown first. I think that's where you're going to be seeing these happen. It's the robot mech suit market. I
don't know. Again, I don't think we're going to see this in Portland or LA. So not sure we're going to see
outside I don't know. In Central Oregon, there's a lot of open territory. I could see a few of these flying around out there. And same thing with California, out in the country somewhere. That's where it is. But in the city, I don't think Portland and LA are going to have these flying around anytime soon. Yeah. But they're out there. So I just wanted to showcase it.
Thank you so much, Greg. It's so great to have you back, and welcome back to the show. I think we're all set. I think we're gonna go ahead and try it back next week. So thank you so much, our friends, for tuning in and being here for us.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Appreciate it so much. And of course, share, comments. Feel free to write Winnie or I anytime if you see something cool you want to talk about. Absolutely, send something to us, and always appreciate that. And thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you next week.
See you next week. Bye-bye now.
Bye.